الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ومن اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, to proceed. Today's lesson, بإذن الله تعالى, we are going to speak about al-muthanna, the dual. But before we speak about al-muthanna, the dual, we need to understand that there are three numbers of nouns in Arabic, or three numbers of al-asma'u. The first is the singular al-mufradu. Al-mufradu. So we have already spoken in detail about al-mufradu, even though we never necessarily referred to it as the singular, but every time we made reference to, for example, baytun or kitabun, then we are speaking about al-mufradu, the singular noun. Okay? And there's three types based upon their number. The first, the singular. So the singular ismun will end in its default state with ya akhlaqu. Does that look like it's a mansubun? Tanweenu dammin? Marfu'un. And its indicator is ad-dammatu upon the end of al-kalima, the word, which is this mark. Right? That is the default state. In this instance, tanweenu dammin, because it is unknown, there's no al. Right? There is no al, the lam of ta'rif, to make it known, and therefore it is tanweenu dammin at the end. Right? But that means a house. Kitabun means a book. Qalamun means a pen. It's singular. Right? We know this. So, after singular, we have the next type of number in relation to an ismun, which is al-muthanna. Al-muthanna. See, the shadd is on the noon. Al-muthanna, which means the dual. Okay, that's the singular, and this is the dual, as in two. So, how do we form al-muthanna? And to form al-muthanna in Arabic is actually very simple. We start off with the singular kitabun, right? To form al-muthanna, the dual of kitabun, we remove the tanweenu dammin, and we place an alif and a noon, kitabani. Okay? Kitabani. That is the dual. Right, akhlaq? So we went from kitabun to kitabani by removing the tanweenu dammin at the end, placing an alif on the ba, then a noon with a kasra. And it becomes kitabani, which means two books. Right? 2 books. So, what state therefore is kitabani in, ya akhlaq? Mansubun. Why do you think it's mansubun?
Because the ending together.
Because the ending is a kasra. Right, you think it's a majrurun. So why would I write an ismun on the board which is majrurun and therefore not in its default state? Why would I do that? You follow?
Because it changed.
But what's caused it to become majrurun?
The dual.
No, the dual wouldn't cause itself to become majrurun. The dual is just the way it's formed.
It's the way it's pronounced.
Why would the way that it's pronounced cause it to become majrurun?
It makes it easy on the tongue.
No. The correct answer is that kitabani is in the marfu'un state. Kitabani is in the marfu'un state. And that makes sense, doesn't it? Because why would I write the 2 books on the board in anything other than the default state when nothing has caused it to change? So the reason why you're slightly confused is because it appears that kitabani is majrurun because of a kasra at the end. And we've said all along up to this point that the kasra on the end of an ismun indicates that it's majrurun. But in the dual, al-muthanna, it's not. In the dual, it's the alif and the noon which indicates that it is marfu'un. Okay, so this is marfu'un, the ani sound. So akhlaq, we have qalamun, a pen. How do we say 2 pens? Qalamani. We have ya Muhammad baytun, a house. How do we say 2 houses?
Baytani.
Baytani. Right? And so on and so forth. Clock, sa'atun, sa'atani. Wall, jidarun, jidarani. Door, babun, babani.
How do you say car?
Sorry?
Sayyaratani.
Sayyaratani. It's no different. It's just that the ta becomes the ta marbuta becomes a ta, and with the alif and noon it becomes sayyaratani.
Would that still be considered a female word?
Sorry?
Would it still be considered?
Yes, it's still a female word. Okay, so a female word, the example that you just mentioned, sayyaratun is a car. Okay, if we want to say sayyara, 2 cars, we say sayyaratani. Tani. Tani. Sayyaratani. A table is tawilatun. Want to say 2 tables, we say tawilatani. Right, and so on and so forth. So that is the marfu'un state, the alif and the noon. Right? So, what therefore is the mansubun state of kitabani? It is كتابين. كتابين is the mansubun state. Right. So, to say two pens we say
قلمين
qalamaini. To say two doors we say
بابين
babaini. Two cars is
سيارتين
sayyarataini. Two walls jidaraini.
What's wow noon then at the end?
We'll come to that in a moment, ya
I'm a
Muhammad.
bit confused.
Right? Kitabaini is the mansubun state. Now, of course, we can't just write kitabaini on the board, can we? In its mansubun state. It would be incorrect grammatically. Why, ya Muhammad?
Because it's meant to be marfu'un.
It's supposed to be marfun, but it's not. It is a mansubun. And why is it mansubun? Because?
Yeah, the noon.
No, because something is acted upon it, such as kataba. Kataba kitabaini, which means ya akhlaqu,
He wrote books.
he wrote books. We're doing al-muthanna, he wrote books. Kataba kitabaini. What does kitabaini mean?
Books.
No, don't say books. We're doing al-muthanna ya akhlaq. Don't say books. Two books. Kataba kitabaini.
He wrote two books.
He wrote two books. Right?
I thought baby was plural.
No.
I thought kitabani was two.
No, that's just the state.
No.
Oh, okay.
Kitabani is a marfu'un state. Kitabaini is the mansubun state.
Okay, I got it.
Right? Why did we introduce kataba? To complete the sentence. Right? So, what therefore is the majrurun state?
Kitabun.
Majrurun is
Kitabuna.
not kitabuna. It is kitabaini. So, what's good about al-muthanna, Muhammad?
Marfu'un the mansubun and majrurun are the same.
The mansubun form of al-muthanna is the same as the majrurun form of al-muthanna. It's the same. That's good, isn't it? One less form to remember, because they share the same form, the mansubun and the majrurun state. So if we want to say in two books, ya akhlaqu, what do we say?
في كتاب
Fi kitabaini. Fi kitabaini, in two books. In two houses, ya Muhammad.
في كتاب.
Two houses.
في بيتيني.
Fi baytayni.
ني.
Okay. Fi baytayni. On two doors, ya akhlaqu.
على بابين
Ala babaini. Right? Is that clear?
Now.
In two cars it is
في سيارتين
في سيارتين. Right? And so on and so forth. So, Al-Muthanna, the marfu'un state is with alif noon. The mansubun and the majrurun state is with ya and then noon. It is not known by the vowel on the final letter in the ismun, because that would then lead you to the incorrect conclusion that all of them are in the majrurun state, because they're not. Okay, is that clear? Right. So once we've understood that al-muthanna is formed in that fashion, then the next matter is to understand that the sifatun or the na'tun, the description or the adjective that may follow the ismun, must agree with it in number. Remember, we have already mentioned that the sifatun must agree with the mawsufun, that which it is describing, in 4 matters. Those 4 matters are gender, number,
starting and finishing.
Starting and finishing.
If it starts with the al.
Yeah, definiteness or indefinite.
And the 4th is
I'rab, state.
current state or past or present, yeah.
No, not tense.
Oh, not.
State, yes, akhlaq. Like that. So we want to say 2 big books. So we have kitabani, 2 books. Now we want to say 2 big books. We know we're going to use the ismun, which is here a sifatun kabirun, but how are we going to make it match kitabani? How? Sorry?
Kabirani.
Right, ya akhlaq. Kabirani. Kabirani. Kitabani, kabirani. 2 large, 2 books. Together they form 2 large books. Right? So kabirani matches with kitabani in gender, because kitabani is a male and kabirani is a male. Kabirani matches kitabani in a number, because kitabani is a dual and kabirani is a dual. It matches it in i'rab state, because kitabani is marfu'un and kabirani is marfu'un. And it matches it in definiteness, or if it's indefinite. Kitabani, is that definite or indefinite, ya akhlaq?
Indefinite.
Indefinite, and kabirani is indefinite. So it matches. Right? If we wanted to say he wrote 2 big books, how would we say it here? Ya Muhammad. Kabirani. Kabirani. Okay? Kataba kitabaini kabiraini. He wrote 2 large, 2 books. He wrote 2 large books. Similarly, fi kitabaini kabiraini. Kabiraini. Right? So the sifatun has to match the mawsufun, the ismun that it's describing, in number, in addition to the other 3 matters, as they do here. Okay? And similarly, if it was female, it would be سيارتان كبيرتان, because both have to be marfu. Right? Well, I said both have to be marfu. The sifatun has to be marfu'un because the ismun is marfu'un. Siyaratani kabiratani. If it was siyaratani, then it would be kabirataini. Right, Ikhlaq? Is that clear? Right. So, after that, we'll just remove this. What we want to do now is mention the dual of the Ismul Ishara. Remember the demonstrative pronoun? هذا, هذه,
نعم.
ذلك, تلك. What we didn't mention when we did those, at some point we'll write them all out again, is the dual form of this. Okay, the dual form. Now in English, there is no dual form of this. We say,
This.
That.
no, these.
Oh.
Don't we? We said these, don't we?
No.
There's no dual of this. It's either this or these. These two pens. We don't say this two pens, do we? Right. So what's the dual of this if we wanted to say these two big books? Hadani. Hadani. Hadani kitabani kabirani. Right? And the female version is, if we say for example, shajara, shajaratani, which means
2, 3.
good, ya akhlaqu, is hatani. Okay? So hadani and hatani. Okay? So if we wanted to say these two large books,
Heavy.
sorry, if we want to say these are two large books, we say hadani kitabani kabirani. Okay? Right? Remember that if it's these two books are large, it's hadani kitabani kabirani. Okay? If we want to say these two books are large, then how do we say it? Remember, there's an important but subtle difference. It's the al before it. Then it's hadhanil kitabani kabirani. These books, or these two books, are large. Right? Remember with the al, but if you want to say these are two large books, then it's hadhani kitabani kabirani. Is that clear? The difference between them. When you have al, it becomes these two books, not these are two books. Right? Similarly, these are two trees. Hatani shajaratani. These are two large trees. Hatani shajaratani kabiratani. Right, Muhammad? So, we'll just write that here. Kabiratani. So what about when we want to say he wrote these two large books? We know that kataba is he wrote. Kataba is he wrote. Now I want to say kataba these two large books.
كتب الكتابين.
These.
هذين.
Right. Ya akhlaq. It's not hadani now. Now it's hadaini. But why is it hadaini? Hadaini. That's hadaini. Okay. Why is it kataba hadaini? And now you see, if we want to, you can't say he wrote these are two large books, because that's what that sentence now says. He wrote these are two large books. Now, what do we have to put before al? Right, good, akhlaq. We need the al now, don't we? To say he wrote these two large books. Kataba hadaini هذين الكتابين كبير al. Remember now that has to be al too, because it has to match indefiniteness. So why is it هذين now? Good, Ya Muhammad. Because that now is mansubun. It's called fi mahallin nasb. It's in the position of being mansub. Okay? Because what you're saying is he wrote these two. So these two, right, are now the object. Just like in English. Okay, if we had two things that had been written, and I said to you, he wrote these two, I don't need to say to you, he wrote these two letters, or he wrote these two essays. I just need to say to you, he wrote these two, and you understand what I mean, don't you? The fact that I haven't qualified or explained what these two refer to is irrelevant. The fact is that these two are still the object of what I wrote, or what he wrote. That's why that's considered to be the maf'ul bihi fi mahall nasb. It's a maf'ul bihi of kataba. Right? Al-kitabaini is called al-badalu, which we haven't done yet. But don't worry about that. The point is that this al-kitabaini is a substitute in Arabic grammar for hadaini, and therefore it takes the same state. Therefore it is mansubun. And that describes al-kitabaini, and therefore it is mansubun. Right? Akhlaq? We haven't done that particular rule yet. But as I said, whether we say he wrote these two or he wrote these two books, you know what I'm referring to. That's why both of them take the same ruling. Right? So, if we want to say in these two two large books, we say في
هذين
في هذين الكتابين في هذين الكتابين الكبيرين. Right? في هذين الكتابين الكبيرين. واضح? Clear? Right, which therefore leads us to the mansuban state of hatani, which it will be
هاتين
hataini. هاتين الشجرتين الكبيرتين. Okay, هاتين الشجرتين الكبيرتين. Okay, which means what, ya Muhammad?
these two large trees. Yeah, these are two large trees.
No, there's an al.
You guys right?
These two large trees. And it wouldn't be correct except unless we placed fi before it. في هاتين الشجرتين الكبيرتين. Right? So the next time you read the ayah in Surah Taha where Allah Azza wa Jalla said, the statement of the magicians, when they said regarding Musa and Harun alayhim as-salam, in hadhani lasahirani yuridani an yukhrijakum min ardikum bisihrihima. In hadhani lasahirani. These are only two magicians, sorcerers. Yuridani, they want to expel you from your land. The dual is used. Why? Because it's referring to Musa and Harun alayhim as-salatu was-salam. Okay? Is that clear?
No.